A new bill that's been filed in the Arkansas Senate is looking to expand access to high-speed internet in Arkansas. Joining me now is Senator Jane English, the bill's sponsor. So, Senator English, the bill calls for creating an advisory board, I understand.
It's exactly what it does. It's an advisory board, not to tell the director of the broadband office what to do, but to provide perspective as we begin to look at implementing high-speed internet across the state, making sure that people have access to it, and also have digital literacy, which is really, really important. We've spent about $450 million putting fiber in the ground. We have the opportunity probably in the next few months for almost $1 billion to come into the state to continue that. But in addition to that, the broadband office has to do a 5-year plan for how you're going to implement it, which includes the putting it in the ground, affordability, and digital literacy. So this is really not a council to tell them what to do, but it really is to bring perspective from a variety of groups out there. We've talked a lot in the legislature about fiber and putting it in the ground and where it ought to be, but we really haven't had any public discussions at all about the other two bigger things that are, or biggest, are the affordability and the digital literacy.
And so you just mentioned the affordability. So how much will this all cost, and who's paying for it?
It's not affordability as far as putting it in the ground, or it really is how much would it cost an individual to access the internet. And in some cases, it's very expensive, and people just can't afford it. And in some places, they can afford it. But so we have to look at that overall thing of what is reasonable to charge people for internet access. And this is a whole new world, because typically if you have a telephone or whatever, and your companies pretty much charge on their density, how many people they have in a group. So in some cases where you have a rural area that doesn't have as many people added on, the cost is much more per person. So we're figuring out how we address that.
And Senator English, where are some of the areas in Arkansas where you've seen that has been really a struggle to get that high-speed internet?
Well, I don't know that we don't have a clear picture right now of where we are. That's probably something we need to have is where are we right now and where has it gone in? And because there's a lot of money being spent, we just need to. We haven't in the legislature probably haven't had a report right away on where those things are, but we will have that. And I don't know that it's if you look at eastern Arkansas, if you look at some of the hilly terrains in the northern part of the state, it's pretty hard to get. You have a long way to go between houses, and some of the areas up in the northern part of the state, they're rocky and they're hilly, and it is a little bit harder to do that. So, but overall, I'm hoping that we will be able to have high-speed internet, and the really trying to figure out how we have that larger discussion about how we get people to use it and understand the ability to get online and how important it is. And it's really a workforce issue as well, because there is not a single job anymore that doesn't require people to have some digital literacy. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. So in some cases, some of these folks will be able to bring that to the forefront and talk about those issues. In education, we're already looking at how do we embed digital literacy in some of our career and technical programs. But there's just a number of things out there and a lot of different arenas that we need to think about.
And so what is the status of the current bill right now, and when will it be taken up and discussed?
It has just been filed, and it will be in Insurance and Commerce on Tuesday. And hopefully if it goes through there, it'll go through the Senate.
All right, Senator Jane English, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.